The doors of Courtroom 7 swing open, and Marcus Calloway walks in like he owns it, because he owns everything else. He doesn't glance at the gallery. He doesn't look at the judge's bench. He walks straight to his table, nods at his lead attorney, and adjusts his cufflink. One small, practiced gesture. That says, this is already over. His legal team fills the entire defense table. 4 attorneys, 2 paralegals, 3 binders each, a laptop, a color-coded evidence system that probably costs more to organize than most people's monthly rent. On the other side of the aisle, 1 table, 1 chair, 1 woman. Dorothy Calloway sits with her hands folded in her lap. No laptop, no binders, no legal team behind her. Just a single manila envelope on the table in front of her, closed with a metal clasp. She does not look at her son. He does not look at her. Marcus leans toward his attorney and whispers something. The attorney smiles faintly and straightens a page. In the gallery, Marcus's wife Vivian sits with perfect posture and a phone she keeps almost looking at. A young publicist types quietly beside her. The bailiff calls the room to order. Judge Miriam Okafor enters. She sits. She scans the room exactly once. Her eyes pause briefly on the woman sitting alone at the left table. Then she opens a file. Calloway versus Calloway. Civil action. Breach of contract. Unjust enrichment. Recovery of investment capital. She looks up. Plaintiff Dorothy Calloway. Representing herself? Yes, Your Honor. Her voice is even. Not trembling. Not performing bravery. Just even. Marcus's lead attorney, Harrison Cole, rises immediately. Your Honor. Harrison Cole for the defense. I want to know for the record that the plaintiff's claims are not only legally frivolous, they are emotionally motivated and supported by zero verifiable documentation. He says zero the way you crush something underfoot. Marcus doesn't even blink. Dorothy reaches down, opens the metal clasp on the envelope. She doesn't remove anything yet, just opens it. Something about that gesture. The judge notices. The bailiff notices. Even Vivian, 3 rows back, looks up from her phone. Ms. Calloway. Judge Okafor says, you may briefly state the nature of your claim. Dorothy unfolds her hands, places them flat on the table, looks at the judge, not at her son, and says, I would like the court to hear what my son forgot. Pause. All of it. Harrison Cole doesn't wait for an invitation. Your Honor, if I may. He's already moving, already performing. This is his courtroom the moment he enters it. The defense would like to establish context before the plaintiff begins what I anticipate will be a highly theatrical presentation. Judge Okafor looks at him over her glasses. You'll have your turn, Mr. Cole. He sits, slowly, the way powerful men sit when told to. Dorothy stands. She is 67 years old, 5 feet 4 inches tall, wearing a dress she has owned for 12 years. She smooths the front of it once, and she speaks. My son Marcus started his first business when he was 24 years old, a logistics software company. He had the idea. He had the drive. He had the talent. She pauses. He did not have the money. Marcus's jaw tightens, just slightly. I sold my house, Dorothy continues. The house I had lived in for 31 years. The house where Marcus was born. The house his father came home to from the hospital the day before he died. She does not look at Marcus. I sold it for $140,000. I gave every cent to my son. A murmur moves through the gallery. Harrison is on his feet. Your Honor, charitable gift between family members do not constitute contractual obligation. Sit down, Mr. Cole. He sits, slower this time. Dorothy opens the envelope, removes a single sheet of paper, sets it carefully in front of her. It was not a gift, she says. We had an agreement. Marcus turns to Harrison, whispers fast and low. Harrison leans back toward him. Doesn't matter. Verbal agreements between family members are nearly impossible to enforce. We're fine. Marcus nods, settles back. He is comfortable. He is untouchable. He employs 400 people in 3 states. He has been on the cover of 2 business magazines under the headline, Built from Nothing. Dorothy reaches back into the envelope. She removes a photograph, holds it briefly. Like a private memory, she's allowing herself one last time, then sets it face down. For years ago, she says, Marcus called me. He had just closed a deal that valued his company at $60 million. She lets that number sit in the room. He told me he wanted to move forward. He told me his new investors had concerns about his, and I am using his exact word, optics. She straightens. An elderly mother in a rented apartment in Decatur, Georgia was not the origin story they were selling. The gallery shifts. He sent me a check for $20,000. He asked me to stop attending his public events. He suggested I not mention his name in interviews. A beat. I didn't know I had been giving interviews. I'm not sure who would want them. A small laugh escapes from the gallery. Someone stifles it immediately. Judge Okafor does not smile, but something in her expression shifts, barely, almost invisibly, toward full attention. He changed his official biography. Dorothy continues. His company website now says he was raised by a single father who passed when he was young, and that he built his company with personal savings and a small bank loan. She picks up the paper beside her. I have a printout of that biography. She slides it to the bailiff. Dated 11 days ago. Harrison looks at his notes, then at Marcus, then back at his notes. This is reputation management. He says, not standing, not fraud, not breach of contract. Dorothy looks at him calmly. I didn't say fraud yet. Yet, that one word. Harrison's pen stops moving. Marcus looks at his mother for the first time since entering the courtroom. Really looks at her. Something crosses his face. Not guilt, not quite. More like the recognition of a locked door he forgot existed. Dorothy folds her hands, sits back down, tucks the envelope carefully beside her. I have more, she says, to no one in particular, but everyone hears it. Harrison Cole requests a 15-minute recess. Judge Okafor grants 10. In the hallway, Marcus paces while Harrison speaks in a rapid, controlled voice. She has a printout. That's optics, not evidence. The house sale is public record, but without documentation of an actual agreement, there is no documentation. Marcus says, You're certain? I'm certain. It was a conversation. In my kitchen, she handed me a check. I told her I would take care of her. He exhales. That's not a contract, Harrison. That's a family moment. Harrison straightens his jacket. Then we're fine. Marcus nods. He looks back through the small window in the courtroom door. He can see his mother's silver head, still and composed. She hasn't moved. She's looking at something in her lap. Something small. He can't tell what it is. We're fine, he repeats. Back in the courtroom, Dorothy calls her first witness. Eleanor Marsh shuffles to the stand. White curls, purple cardigan, large canvas bag. And Harrison Cole allows himself a small, private exhale of relief. An old woman's friend. A character witness at best. This is theater, not law. Ms. Marsh, Dorothy says, how long have we known each other? 41 years, Eleanor says warmly, since your hero was in diapers. Excuse me. She nods toward Marcus. On the night of March 14th, 17 years ago, do you remember where you were? Eleanor thinks. Your kitchen on Elm Shore Drive. What were we doing? You were on the phone with a notary. The air in the room changes. Why? Dorothy asks quietly, was I on the phone with a notary? Eleanor opens her canvas bag, removes a plastic sleeve. Inside it, a document, several pages, slightly yellowed at the edges, but intact, because, Eleanor says, you asked me to witness it. Harrison is standing before Eleanor finishes the sentence. Objection, Your Honor. Foundation, what is this document? Where did it come from? Chain of custody. Bring it forward. Judge Okafor says. The bailiff carries the plastic sleeve to the bench. The judge examines it. 1 page. 2 pages. She turns to page 3, and something in her posture changes. She reads page 3 twice. Mr. Cole, she says carefully, you may want to examine this. Harrison walks to the bench. He reads, and Marcus watches Harrison's face, the face of a man who has never lost a civil case, go very, very still. Dorothy speaks while Harrison reads. 17 years ago, when Marcus first came to me with his idea, he was 21, still in school. The business plan was good. I knew it was good. She adjusts her glasses. But I'm not a sentimental woman. I was a bookkeeper for 30 years. I understand what money is. I understand what it means to give it. She picks up her own copy of the document. So I did not give my son a gift. I made my son a business partner. She holds it up. That document is a signed, notarized investment agreement. It entitles me to 12% of any business revenue exceeding $1 million annually for the duration of any company founded using the initial capital investment. She sets it down. It was signed by Marcus. It was signed by me. It was witnessed by Eleanor. And it was notarized by Mr. Gerald Pfeiffer, who is retired and living in Sarasota, Florida, and who I spoke on the phone last Thursday. The gallery erupts. Harrison steps back from the bench. His paralegals are already typing. searching, pulling records. Marcus stares at his mother. She looks back at him now, for the first time. "You forgot, sweetheart," she says quietly. Only he can hear it. "You forgot that I taught you to document everything." Harrison has a new strategy. He is composed again, tie retightened, posture rebuilt. He approaches Dorothy's table with practiced sympathy. "Ms. Calloway, let me be honest with you, and I think you deserve honesty." He gestures toward Marcus. "My client deeply regrets the distance that has grown between them. He has expressed to me privately that he has made mistakes in managing this relationship." He raises one finger. "However, this document, even if authenticated, was drafted by a woman with no legal training, witnessed by a friend, and may not meet the threshold of enforceability under Georgia contract law. I have a law degree," Dorothy says. Silence. Harrison blinks. "I beg your pardon?" "I have a law degree," Dorothy repeats. "University of Georgia School of Law, 1981. I passed the bar but chose not to practice. I became a bookkeeper because it paid better and the hours suited my family." She looks at Harrison directly. "I also drafted the agreement using the language of a standard revenue-sharing contract, which I've taught myself again over the last 18 months in preparation for today." A pause. "I took a refresher course online." She tilts her head slightly. "It was $64. From the bench, Judge Okafor makes a sound. It might be a cleared throat. It might be something else entirely. Harrison takes a step back. He has misjudged this room. He has misjudged this woman. He has been performing in a theater where the stage was built by someone else. The entire time. "Your Honor," he says, the defense requests. "The defense will have its full opportunity." Judge Okafor says, "Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. She looks at Dorothy. "Ms. Calloway, are you prepared to continue tomorrow?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Is there anything else you want entered today?" Dorothy picks up the manila envelope. "There's one more thing." She reaches in, withdraws a second document. "But I'd like to save it for tomorrow." Harrison stares at the envelope. He does not know what's in it. Neither does anyone else. That night, Dorothy sits in a motel room 6 blocks from the courthouse. Single bed, a lamp with a beige shade, soup from a gas station container, the local news playing low. Her son's face appears on the screen. A reporter outside the courthouse. Marcus walking to his car, head down. Harrison shielding him. Dorothy turns off the television. She opens her phone, looks at her contacts. Marcus's name is still there. She has never deleted it. She opens their text thread. The last message of Marcus, dated 4 years and 2 months ago, reads, "The check should arrive by Friday. Please don't make this complicated." She reads it once, sets the phone face down. Then she opens her worn notebook and reviews tomorrow's notes with a yellow highlighter. Across town, Marcus stands at the floor-to-ceiling window of his hotel suite, looking out at the city. Vivian sits on the edge of the bed behind him. She has a law degree. Vivian says, "Not accusing, just processing. She never told me. Did you ever ask?" No answer. Marcus. Vivian stands, walks to him. "I have been beside you for 6 years. I have watched you talk about your mother exactly 4 times. Every time, you said she was a simple woman, a kind woman. I know what I said. Did you believe it?" He turns from the window. His face is not the boardroom face, not the magazine face. It is a face she has maybe seen twice in 6 years. She was always the smartest person in any room. He says quietly, "I think I needed her not to be." Vivian is quiet for a long moment. "What's in the second envelope?" she asks. "I don't know." "You're afraid?" "Yes." She nods, sits back on the bed. "I think you should settle." Harrison says we can still challenge. I'm not talking about what Harrison says. She looks at her hands. I'm talking about what's right. And I'm talking about the fact that I didn't know any of this. The house, the retirement account, the agreement, your biography. She looks up. "You rewrote her out of your life and put a fiction in her place. And I repeated that fiction at dinner parties, Marcus." Her voice breaks on the last word. "I told people you were self-made. I told people your father raised you alone." Marcus says nothing. "What's in the second envelope?" she asks again. He walks to the minibar, opens it, closes it without taking anything. "I don't know," he says again. But he is lying. He knows exactly what's in it. And it will change everything. Morning. Courtroom 7, 9:04 a.m. Marcus arrives first. He sits at the defense table, and for the first time since these proceedings began, he is not adjusting his cufflinks. He is not leaning toward Harrison. He is sitting still, hands flat on the table, looking at the space in front of him. Dorothy arrives at 9:06. Eleanor is with her, but behind him walks a man in his late 40s, carrying a laptop bag and a visitor's badge. He is directed to the gallery. Harrison watches him sit. He doesn't recognize the face. He should prepare for faces he doesn't recognize. Judge Okafor enters. The room stands. Sits. We resume Calloway versus Calloway. She looks up. Ms. Calloway, you indicated yesterday you had additional material. Yes, Your Honor. Proceed. Dorothy stands. When my son's company was 5 years old, she begins, it nearly failed. Marcus goes still. There was a contract dispute with a logistics partner. It could have ended everything. Marcus had no money for litigation. His investors were pulling back. She picks up the envelope. He called me. She removes a document, passes it to the bailiff. I refinanced my retirement account, liquidated it entirely, paid the tax penalty, and gave him $86,000. A pause. I was 54 years old. I had been saving that money for 30 years. Her voice does not shake. I did not amend our original agreement. I gave him that money as a mother. She lets the room sit with that, because that is what mothers do. In the gallery, someone is crying, a woman, 3 rows back. Dorothy does not look. But that is not what I wanted to show the court today. She reaches into the envelope one final time and removes a leather-bound journal. It is old, the cover dark brown, worn soft at the corners. It looks like it has been opened and closed thousands of times. This, Dorothy says, belonged to my husband, Thomas Calloway, Marcus's father. She holds it the way you hold something that cannot be replaced. Thomas passed away when Marcus was 16. Pancreatic cancer. 6 weeks from diagnosis to the end. Her voice remains even. In the weeks before he died, we can no longer speak, he wrote. She opens it to a marked page. He wrote about Marcus, about what he saw in him, about what he hoped for him. She reads, the boy sees angles I can't see. He gets it from his mother. She's the sharpest mind I've ever met, and I've been lucky enough to love her for 20 years. Whatever Marcus becomes, it will be because of her. I won't be there to see it, but she will, and she will make sure he gets there. That's what Dorothy does. She makes sure. Silence in the courtroom. Complete silence. Harrison says nothing. For the first time in this trial, Harrison Cole has nothing. Dorothy closes the journal, sets it carefully on the table. I'm not here because I need money, she says. I'm comfortable. I work. I manage. She looks at Judge Okafor. I'm here because my son told the world he built himself from nothing. He said it in magazines. He said it in interviews. He said it to investors, to the press, to his wife. A beat. And I need the world to know that is not true. Not because it damages me, but because it dishonors his father. It dishonors every early morning and every skip dinner and every dollar I didn't spend on myself so that he could spend on a future. She finally looks at Marcus. You are extraordinary, Marcus. You always were. Her voice is the quietest it has been in 2 days. But you did not come from nothing. A breath. You came from us. She looks toward the gallery. Your Honor, I'd like to call Nathan Reeves. Harrison is on his feet. Objection! No notice of this witness. Mr. Reeves is not a witness, Dorothy says calmly. He is a licensed forensic financial analyst. He has prepared a verified damages calculation, filed with the court clerk this morning at 8:15, pursuant to Rule 26 disclosure requirements. She nods toward the clerk's desk where a document is already waiting. I filed his report last night. Electronically. Your office received it at 11:40 p.m. The clerk nods at the judge. Judge Okafor looks at Harrison Cole with an expression that could strip paint. She filed at 11:40, Mr. Cole. Your team had the report. Did you not check filing notifications overnight? Harrison turns to his paralegal, who is already looking at his phone, who is already going pale. The notification went to secondary, enough? The judge looks toward the gallery. Mr. Reeves. Approach. Nathan Reeves takes a stand. Calm, clinical, the quiet authority of someone who deals in numbers that don't care about feelings. Mr. Reeves, Dorothy says, was the total figure representing 12% of Callaway Logistics Solutions' annual revenue exceeding the threshold, beginning in year 3 of operation, and compounding present? Nathan Reeves opens his laptop, turns it toward the courtroom camera. $5 million for $112,000. A pause, and 63 cents. The gallery breaks open. Harrison is on his feet. objections, challenges, a legal argument constructed in real time that would impress any other judge on any other day. But Judge Okafor is not any other judge. She lets him finish. She waits. Then she says, "Mr. Cole." The document is notarized. The notary is confirmed. The language is legally sound. Your client signed it at age 21. He was an adult. The agreement specifies exactly these terms. She folds her hands. Your challenge is noted. Do you have evidence the signature is forged? We had not yet had time to... You've had 17 years, she says. The courtroom does something it is not supposed to do. It laughs, not mockingly, helplessly, because it is the truest thing said in this room in 2 days. Marcus stands. Everyone looks at him. Harrison grabs his arm. Marcus, do not. Marcus removes his arm from Harrison's grip. He stands straight. He looks at his mother. And in that moment, with $5 million on the table, the entire courtroom watching and everything he has built at stake, Marcus Calloway does something no attorney prepared for. He says, "She's right." Harrison closes his eyes. "Your Honor." Marcus's voice is controlled, but stripped of all its polish. What's underneath is younger than 38. My mother is right. About the house. About the retirement account. About the agreement. About all of it. He swallows. I convinced myself I had built something alone because it was a better story. Because I was ashamed of needing help. Because I thought, if people knew where I came from, they wouldn't believe in where I was going. He stops, starts again. I rewrote her out. He looks at his mother now, not at the judge, at her, and I don't have a defense of that. Not a legal one, not a human one. Vivian, in the gallery, presses her fingers to her mouth. Marcus turns to Judge Okafor. I don't want to fight this. I want to pay what I owe. He sits down. Harrison Cole picks up his pen, sets it down, picks it up again. And Dorothy Calloway, 67 years old, wearing a 12-year-old dress and a pearl necklace from a man who loved her, opens her mouth. One sentence. She has been waiting 2 days to say it. She has been waiting 4 years to say it. She looks at her son, and she says, "I never wanted your money, Marcus. I just wanted you to remember who helped you carry it." Not a single person in Courtroom 7 moves. Not the judge, not the attorneys, not the gallery, not Vivian, not Harrison Cole, not Marcus. The sentence lands like something physical, like a hand placed gently over a wound, like a door opened after years of knocking. Judge Okafor removes her glasses, sets them on the bench. She does not speak immediately. When she does, her voice is very quiet and very certain. We'll move to judgment. The judgment takes 4 days to formalize, but the room already knows. After Marcus's statement, Harrison Cole requested a settlement conference. In a side room, between 2 legal teams and 1 woman with a manila envelope, they reached an agreement in less than 2 hours. Dorothy's numbers were not significantly challenged. The notarized agreement held $5 million for $112,000, plus legal fees, which, given that Dorothy had represented herself, were minimal, but that was not the whole of it. Dorothy had a second demand. It was not financial. Back in the courtroom, final session, Judge Okafor reads the settlement terms into the record. The defendant, Marcus Thomas Calloway, agrees to financial restitution as calculated and stipulated. She pauses. The defendant further agrees to the following corrective action, per mutual consent. The official biography of Marcus Thomas Calloway, as published on the company website, in press materials, and in all future public communications, shall be amended to accurately reflect the financial contributions of Dorothy and Calloway, including the initial investment of $140,000, the secondary investment of $86,000, and her role as founding investor of Callaway Logistics Solutions. A paralegal at Harrison's table types furiously. Furthermore, the judge continues, in any future interview, profile, or public statement in which the defendant discusses the founding of his company, he will acknowledge his mother's contribution. She looks up, in his own words. She looks at Marcus. Would you like to do that now, Mr. Calloway? For the record. Marcus stands. He has not slept in 4 days. The expensive suit is still expensive, but it looks different now, like a costume, rather than skin. He looks at his mother, then at the judge, then back at his mother. My name is Marcus Thomas Calloway, he says. I founded Callaway Logistics Solutions 16 years ago. I had the idea. I had the drive. He breathes. And my mother sold everything she had to make it real. She gave me her home. She gave me her savings. She gave me 30 years of her working life. converted into capital, handed to 24-year-old who didn't fully understand what he was holding. He stops. I am not self-made. A breath. I am her maid. He exhales on those two words, like setting down something very heavy. And I should have said that a long time ago. The gallery is a hell breath. Vivian is no longer trying to hold anything back. Eleanor Marsh blows her nose loudly into a handkerchief and whispers sorry to no one. Judge Okafor writes something, closes a file. Settlement accepted. Case closed. She looks at Dorothy one final time over her glasses. Ms. Calloway, you represented yourself with extraordinary skill and evident preparation. I hope you consider— No, Your Honor, Dorothy says, and almost smiles. I retire for a reason. In the hallway afterward, the reporters are outside. Harrison slips out a side exit. The publicist is already managing a statement. Dorothy stands by the elevator. Eleanor beside her, still sniffling. Marcus walks toward her. He stops 2 feet away. Neither of them speaks for a moment. Then he says, I don't know where to start. You don't have to start today, she says. I don't deserve that kind of— you shouldn't be easy with me. I'm not being easy. She looks up at him. I'm being your mother. A pause. There's a difference. He looks at her pearl necklace, the one his father gave her. He looks at it the way you look at something you had forgotten was real. Can I take you to dinner? He asks. Tonight? Dorothy considers this. Somewhere simple, she says. Not expensive. I know a diner. The one on Peachtree? With the good biscuits. He stops. You've been there? I drive past it sometimes, she says. When I'm in the city, she picks up her envelope. I'll meet you at 7. The elevator opens. She steps in. And for the first time in 4 years, Marcus Calloway watches his mother leave a room and does not feel relief. He feels a specific, unfamiliar ache of someone learning to miss the right things. The next morning, Dorothy Calloway drinks coffee at her kitchen table in Decatur, Georgia. The apartment is small. The furniture is old. On the wall, a framed photograph. Dorothy and Thomas Young standing in front of a house on Elm Shore Drive, squinting into the sun. On the counter, a printout. The new version of Marcus's company biography, already live on the website. 4 hours after judgment. She reads it. Calloway Logistic Solutions was founded with the support and capital investment of Dorothy Calloway, whose sacrifice and belief made this company possible from the very first day. She folds the printout, sets it next to the photograph, drinks her coffee. 3 weeks later, a journalist publishes a piece in a national business magazine. It goes everywhere. Dorothy's phone rings for 2 weeks straight. She answers some calls, declines others. She agrees to one interview, given by phone from her kitchen, which she prefers. When the journalist asks what she wants people to take from the story, Dorothy is quiet for a moment. Then she says, I want people to remember that behind most extraordinary people is an ordinary person who gave everything. Not for credit, not for money, for love. A pause. And love is real, but it is also work. It is sacrifice. It is a signed piece of paper in a notarized envelope, because you were a bookkeeper for 30 years, and you know what money means. Another pause. Never let anyone erase the people who carried them. This story isn't really about a courtroom. It's about a choice. Marcus made one choice for 4 years. Dorothy made a different one the morning she walked into Courtroom 7 alone. He chose a myth. She chose the truth. And the truth, when it finally had room to breathe, didn't just win a case. It brought a son back to his mother. One sentence. Not a speech. Not an argument. Not a performance. One sentence. I never wanted your money, Marcus. I just wanted you to remember who helped you carry it. That is the thing about truth. It doesn't need much room. It just needs to finally be spoken. Think of the person who helped carry you. Have you told them? Today might be a good day.